What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Ad Podcast. We've got Mathieu Roche, the co-founder and CEO of ID5. We're out here in the main thoroughfare, getting a little ambiance, staying out of the sun. Mathieu, thanks for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me, Dylan. It's a pleasure.
So for those that aren't familiar, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and who is ID5, where do they sit in the ecosystem of CAN and the broader marketing stack?
Yeah, so ID5 is an identity company. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the business. We started in 2017, and our job is to make advertising addressable and measurable. So we allow for targeting, we allow for frequency capping, we allow for measurements, and we do that by working with publishers, media owners, technology companies who power digital advertising, so really can be the infrastructure layer that powers digital advertising.
I love it. So mainly you sit on the supply side then, so you guys basically come in under supply and then help SSPs, DSPs essentially understand more about who the people are that are coming through those sources of inventory so they can be targeted.
We really see, like, everything starts with the supply, right? We need supply to be enriched with ways for buyers to recognize the people. So we work with, again, media owners to make sure that there is an ID when an ad is being put up for sale. And so we work with publishers, we work with SSPs and DSPs, so the whole technology chain. But we also work with brands and agencies that have information about customers, and then be able to apply that information.
First-party data such as purchase, cookie data,
behavior, demographic, whatever that is. We help them
ramp IDs for media spend where they can do retargeting, stuff like that.
So not ramp ID because the ID5 ID is the better version of the ramp ID.
Right, good to hear. Sorry, that's my context in which I think about first-party data segments. So,
and it's listen, it's a 2.2 billion benchmark. So I'm not going to say I don't like it. It's an amazing company, but effectively we think that and especially with LiveRamp, being required by Publicis, there is a lot of room for other.
There's a little bit of grading your own homework. So
absolutely, yes.
Okay, got it. Awesome. All right, so what are some of the more exciting things that are happening on the innovation side in the world of ID and identification and audience classification, if you will?
Our industry is never short of innovation and like buzzwords. Everybody's talking about AI, right? And so when we think about identity, AI is really how AI impacts consumer journey. Really has a profound impact on identity. For years in advertising, we've tried to remove bots because we consider them to be bad.
Bots are bad. Bots are
we didn't want to count. We didn't want to count traffic from bots. We didn't want to serve ads to bots. But now bots actually represent customers.
That's interesting. I haven't. So that's the first time I've heard that. So bots are not a bad thing necessarily in a world of agentic where you've got these bots that are going out into the internet. They are sourcing information and at the end of the day pulling that into an LLM or a chatbot and can surface that to a customer. So at the end of the day, you want that bot to go out and communicate with your information.
Because again, identity is like recognizing the interactions along the purchase funnel, right? And sometimes those interactions are done by humans, right? You serve an ad to a person and the person goes into a store. We can track that with current traditional identity capabilities. But now you have agents, right, being served ads so that they can recommend certain brands or certain products, right? And so you need to understand agentic advertising and human conversions, or vice versa, human advertising leading to agentic conversion. I'm going to ask Claude to go and book a ticket for me, for instance, right? And so we need to think about identity as an extension of just the human, but also the agents that represent the human. And it's a real big challenge that we don't have to solve today because it's still the infancy of that world, but like in the next few years,
if more and more people are going to trust their transactions.
So understanding agentic behaviors and how it impacts the purchase funnel and how we can track, understand kind of agents representing people on advertising or conversion interactions is going to be really important for brands in the future.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, a lot of times we looked at signals like, what web pages people visited, what they searched for in Google, and it was kind of like a bit of a monolith, right? Because now people are putting huge queries into LLM. Sometimes they're cut and pasting pages before they enter their prompt into AI, but they're also having a conversation. So they might start with a prompt and then have 10 follow-up questions before they feel like they're satisfied with their answer, and they're going to go action on that information that they found. How does the idea of having conversations with bots maybe impact how you're thinking about building an identity graph or a profile who a consumer is based on how they talk with their LLMs?
I think those conversations are important when you think about data, right? What do I know about a customer? Identity and data are kind of different things.
Got it.
Identity is recognizing people. That allows you to then overlay the intelligence you have about them, the knowledge, their customers, their purchase history, whatever, their intents that might be expressed in LLM conversations. But there are different things. So for us, it's really about like, how do we understand the interaction between the human and the agents, and how do we bring it together into our graph so that we can surface that intelligence to the brands and the agency and tell them that their investment into generative engine optimization, for instance, or the conversions generated by agents are tied to their advertising spend, and help them understand because in the end, and more this year, right, outcomes are really critical, and so understanding outcomes and ROI of advertising investment is really what it's about, and so making sure we have that agentic.
When you talk about outcomes, you talk about like completed views, clicks, transactions, ROAS, a little bit of everything.
Anything that is kind of the goal of an advertising campaign, right? And making sure we can track that and connect that back to the advertising investment in the first place.
Got it, makes sense. All right, so let's talk a little bit about your can. There's a lot of companies out here vying for attention from agencies and brand marketers. What are you guys doing as ID5 to stand out, market yourself as a company and a platform, do thought leadership? What has your can strategy been?
So can strategy has been full on. We had like content, we had panels, we had breakfast, we had like a whole like load of kind of activation opportunities here. We also have a very big team, so we've had, I think we have over 250 touch points with our customers and our partners, so it's been very, very busy.
That's amazing.
I think for us, like the market has kind of helped us out, because I was talking about this acquisition of LiveRamp by Publicis a few weeks ago. This has generated a lot of interest into what ID5 can do, as I say, with a very close replacement for the Ramp ID. A lot of people are evaluating their relationship with LiveRamp and kind of considering whether or not they need alternative and what sort of alternative they can work with. And so that transaction happening a month before Cannes has been you know, in a way a really great opportunity for us to make sure our agenda has been full to the brim, which has been the case. So it's been a really good Cannes.
I love it. Exciting. So you talked about some panels and thought leadership. What were some of the themes that you were exploring this week?
Well, a lot of what I was talking about, right? How agents impact the purchase journey and how we should think about it from an identity standpoint. How measurement is really critical, and how identity is not just about targeting, but is more so about measurement, right? It doesn't matter that you target the right people if you can measure the outcome of that, right? So like we've been talking about identity as a targeting mechanism. We need to think about it as a measurement mechanism first and for all. And yeah, those LiveRamp discussions, right? And those alternative kind of build-ups or integrations or partnerships, those have been really the three main discussion topic for us this year, and I think for a lot of people on the Croisette. So it's been an active week for sure.
Are there any conversations that you sat on that you thought were impactful? Anything that you, anything conversation-wise, either the thought leadership that you sat in on, and/or conversations off the cuff with new people that you've met? Anything that you're bringing back to the teams that you want to implement that you kind of saw at Cannes this week?
Well, I mean, there's been a ton of very impactful business conversation that we cannot talk about, but that you will hear about in the press in a few months when we're able to announce like wins and things. So I'd love to. I think one of the interesting conversations we had behind closed doors was with the Unplugged Collective, where we talked about AI and the impact of AI on organization, which was more like me as the CEO, and like thinking about how we think about AI to empower our teams at ID5. And understanding how other companies are doing it and how they approach this challenge is always interesting to kind of benchmark ourselves. So that's been one of the highlights for me.
I'd love to hear a little bit about that. Can you tell me a little bit about how that actually shows up for you in the how are you guys using AI most successfully within your organization to think about how to unleash creativity, unleash productivity? How is AI implementing, like you mentioned, the culture of ID5?
So we had like a month ago, we had a company offsite where we had a full section dedicated. Nice. It was sort of a hackathon. It was like really focusing on kind of best practices and kind of applications of AI. We've enabled Claude for our entire company, and we have some very kind of advanced power users who were like more like mentors or more like, you know,
facilitators
of the discussion. And what was really exciting is that they came with their use cases and how they've deployed Claude and built skills and built capabilities in Claude and you know, schedule tasks and all those things to make their life easier. And then sharing that with the rest of the team and having people like raise their hand and say like, hey, can Can this help me in my day-to-day, in my my follow-up after a sales meeting on a customer, or my understanding of my customers at risk, or my reminder for when the contract's up for renewal, or how much detail I put into the CRM. Like all of those really kind of concrete business applications that we're going to help our team kind of really automate and improve and be more efficient with. It's a way for us to. The theme of that day was work smarter.
That's smart.
It's a way to work smarter. It's a way to work faster, to be better, and to support our customers with better services and more efficiency. So it's all good for us.
I love it. Well, thanks so much for coming on, spending a little bit of time with us today. If folks at home want to learn more about ID5 or connect with you, follow along with your thought leadership, where would you like to send them?
ID5.io, ID5 on LinkedIn, and Mathieu Roche. You can find me on all the good social platforms.
Thank you, sir. Cheers.
Thank you.
On YouTube, finding the right audience to build a media plan requires hours of research. And optimizing campaigns is time-consuming and a bit of a guessing game. That's why we built technology to do it for you. Strike Social.